Hello all, welcome to another session with me, Varun, on Tech Tablet. Well, it's been a while that I've covered SAP or any topics related to SAP, shifted to data science and AI, so was pretty busy working on that. However, after a lot of requests and too many messages in my inbox, I thought I should get back to working with SAP and probably OData. And to that, what we will be doing is we will be working on SAP UI5 Fiori to begin with. And in this course, we will be looking at the front end and the back end. So yeah, without wasting any time, let us just understand what is it that we have for us in this session, and we can probably take a look at that. So this session would be talking about SAP UI5 Fiori, to be very precise. Now, when we talk of SAP UI5 Fiori, these are the topics that we would be looking at. Again, this course would be completely free of cost. You do not have to pay anything. You do not have to, there are no hidden charges, or, it's not that after going halfway through, you will have to, subscribe or pay something to watch the other few videos. This course is completely for free for all those people who are looking forward to get into the tech industry, probably with SAP. So in the front end part, the first thing that we would be looking at the installation of tools. Again, Eclipse is outdated. We are no longer using Eclipse. I think the support for Eclipse has stopped with Eclipse Juno. So I don't think we have any front end support for that. However, we will be looking at a few tools which we would be working on. However, one of the most important tools would be SAP BAS, that is the Business Application Studio. This is how it will, look like. I mean, the page. This is how it would be. Notwithstanding this, we would also be working with VS Code parallelly. So these are the two tools that we would be working with. Followed by fundamentals of SAP UI5. We will understand what are the principles and fundamentals on which SAP UI5 works. To that, we would be working a lot with this page, that is sapui5.hana.ondemand.com, right? These two websites or these two pages is something that we would be looking at a very high scale, or I think we would be taking reference from these pages very often, and we would be working on this page as well, that is pretty often. Then we would be moving into understanding basics of JS, that is JavaScript. We would also have to touch base upon node.js. We would be then looking at how to create screen elements. For that, we would be taking help of the demo kit. You can, look at different applications here, like the team calendar, or, browse order. We can just click on open application. We will be taking references from applications and from the different screen elements that we have available on this page. Okay. And if you can see, we would be working on creating something like this. Okay. When you click on it, you see that it's a split screen window, right? So all these kind of designs would be understood when we work on basics of JS. Then we would be seeing how to create some basic screen elements once we have understood JavaScript. Screen elements is elements like buttons, or probably a list or a drop down or a checkbox or any of these, right? Then we have accessing the screen elements. Obviously, now let us say if you are working on a screen element, like you have worked on a button or probably on a drop down. When you select an option or when you click on a button, you expect an action to happen, right? So that would be handled in accessing screen elements. Then we would be looking at how to work on the elements related to a table, right? Because a table has too many functions, and table is pretty often used in the SAP UI5 world. Then we have front end plus OData. Again, when I say front end plus OData, we would be looking at the basics of OData here, and then we would be looking at a formatter function. Once this is done, we would be moving into the Fiori part, wherein we would be working on SAP Web IDE. Again, there are different options that we have. We have SAP Web IDE, we have BAS, that is Business Application Studio, and we have VS Code. Any of these work equally fine. Um, then we have a basic introduction to Fiori apps. Now you must be having a question as to what is Fiori apps, like how do they look, what do they feel like. So I have just extracted a couple of images from the Google. Here you can see we have one good, really good looking, Fiori launch page. So this is probably some global cash managed, something related to banking, I believe. And here you see these are different applications. Now, when you click on each of these, you would be having a page that would, have functionality like this, where details would be, represented. So here you see we have three elements, like we have a tree, sorry, we have a table, we have, a box with different, elements marked. Here you have a photo or a picture. So all these are the elements that are extracted from OData, or, these are saved in OData, and we, bind them to be able to get these. So we would be looking at an introduction of what is Fiori applications and how do we work on them. Then you have again, different kind of screen elements. We would be handling various types of screen elements in one and two. Then we have the front end plus OData again, wherein we would be looking at basic elements on how to do data binding or things like these. Then you have table, how to create table with values, table with formatter function, and a list with formatter function. So these are the basic things that we would be looking at when we talk of Fiori in specific. Now, going again, when we talk of the difference between SAP UI5 and SAP Fiori, these are, I think the difference is like custom application versus pre-built applications. It's not much, and we can very easily extend the Fiori applications. Again, when I say easy, it is a very different, differential word for each of us. With respect to exposure, or probably with respect to experience, or with respect to your coding skill. So yeah, however, I would still call it relatively easier, if not easy. But yeah, then we have OData. OData is the backend, or OData is like the middleware between ABAP and UI5, right? So we would be seeing how to create a table before we go into an entity type or an entity set in ABAP. Again, here, when you're learning SAP UI5 Fiori, it is assumed, or it is understood that you might have basic exposure to SAP ABAP, right? So we would be looking at how to create a table in SAP ABAP, followed by how to import it. Then we would be understanding what is entity type and entity set, followed by the different methods and parameters, like how to, like, you have get entity set, you have CRUD operations, etc. You have the use of ABAP in OData, then followed by CRUD operations. CRUD is create, read, update, and delete. So if you're doing an operation in the front end, like, in the, like, being an end user, then you expect the changes to happen in the back end as well. Now, for that, we would have to write certain operations, which is called CRUD operations. Then you have OData search string that's available, followed by uploading and downloading files. We'll see how to upload basic files. Again, there are too many variants of files that you have available with SAP OData. We would be looking at the basic level, followed by fetching the header and item data. It's very useful when you want to, get the data, or, onto your front end. Then you have function import, followed by create deep entity method and get expanded entity method and get entity set method. Now, these three are used when you have multiple entities within an entity. So it's basically like, a parent child reference. You have too many or multiple children, for a parent. So you would be able to work on such operations when we look at create, deep entity, or probably get expanded or get entity set method. Once we are done with all of these, we'll look at some more interview questions which are related to today's world. And yeah, this is what we would be looking at during this course, right? So if you have any questions during this period or during this tenure, feel free to use the chat box that you have available, or you can also use the comment section, and I will try to respond back to you at my earliest availability. Let's try to make this as interactive as possible. However, before going into the hands-on part, or before going into the part which works on the coding directly. We will be looking at the different theoretical aspects that we have with SAP UI5, like understanding the difference between ABAP and OData, understanding what the different languages we might need to use in the front end arena, etc. So this is all that we would be covering when we talk about this course, right? So just to keep things summarized again, we would be looking at the front end, we would be looking at back end, we would be looking at ABAP. Again, when I say front end, we would be looking at different tools like SAP Web IDE, SAP BAS, and VS Code. We would also be looking at SAP OData and SAP ABAP, and we would be looking at how to data bind them and how to ensure that an application is built end to end. But mind you, this would be a very basic to an intermediate level course, assuming that you already have your roots in SAP ABAP. All right. And as I said, if you have any queries, I would be the most happiest to see any kind of questions in the comment section or in the chat box. So yeah, thank you all very much. Do stay subscribed. This is the first video. In the next video, we would also be talking in depth about how to work on SAP UI5. What is SAP UI5? After which we have OData, and after which we would be looking directly at the practical part. So yes, for just a couple of theoretical sessions to keep things aligned. Once that is done, we would be moving into the practical part of what is SAP UI5 Fiori and OData. Practical part is the hands-on part wherein we would be getting our hands dirty and brains roasted. So yeah, do stay subscribed. This is me, Varun, logging off. Thank you very much. You all have a good day out there.